Hey Pierre, how are you?
Hey Dave, how are you?
Good, 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 good. So yeah, let's give an overview here of GenAI and see how it can be used within a notebook to help new users learn Python here. So I'll give a quick background about what this notebook is and what this data set is, and then I'll talk about how I'm using the GenAI Jupyter Notebook extension right within Notable here to really help me do Python better. So this notebook is quick background. So a colleague of ours that I work with now that I used to work with for many, many years before had created this repo with a bunch of different kind of data analytic challenges to kind of help people learn Python in the enterprise organization that we worked in before. And this is 4 years old here. And 4 years ago, I tried and struggled to work my way through all these notebooks. But now, thanks to some of the really cool work that we are doing here, integrating ChatGPT with this GenAI extension, I can get a lot further than I did 4 years ago.
So what was the main struggle you had 4 years ago? Was just like not knowing Python enough? Was it like
Yeah,
being a
I mean, the dirty secret is, yeah, I didn't know Python enough, right? And so I would see the challenge here. I do a lot of, Google searching. I do a lot of looking at Stack Overflow, and ultimately trying to, iterate in a notebook and try to, come to an answer here. But I would hit a lot of, dead ends, a lot of brick walls. And so I can show here how the GenAI extension helps me get past those brick walls and those dead ends that I run into with some of the exception handling work. That's really cool, as well as how I can just ask direct questions of the data, using GenAI, and I can get some answers back that can help me, get further along and down my path of learning Python to try to answer some of these questions.
awesome? So yeah, maybe quick background about GenAI.
Yeah, so GenAI is a open source package that we've developed here that integrates ChatGPT as a Jupyter Notebook extension. So you can use it in any notebook platform that you're working in. So Jupyter Lab or just the classic Jupyter Notebook. You can also use it in Notable. I'll be using Notable here for the demo here, but you can just install this. All you have to have, obviously, is the notebook platform, then have this installed, and then have your API token stored as an environment variable. And that is all documented here on our GitHub page if you have any questions on that.
And so in Notable, how do we kind of facilitate the possibility to access an API with a secret feature?
So we have secrets here. And so I've created a secret. So I've got a couple of test secrets here, but I have the OpenAI API key already set. And so it's ready to go. So all I needed to do within the notebook is to install this package and then load that extension.
Sounds good.
Awesome. All right, so you can see here there's a couple of different questions. This is the easy questions of the kind of 3 different easy, intermediate, and advanced notebooks. This is going to be the easy one. And first things first is I load in the data, and this just has some data about some sharks, right? So we get some geotemporal data here that has kind of pings of these various sharks. You get their ID, the lat long, and where they pinged in, what their name was, what the gender it was, what kind of species it was, weight, length, and etc. And so there's a lot of fun questions that then we can ask of this data. Right. And so you can see the questions here about just getting started. How many total pings are there? How many unique species of sharks are there? What are the name, weight, and species of the heaviest shark, and etc. And this, as an exercise, is trying to get people to learn how to do Python for some just, very introductory data analysis type tasks. And so we use this a lot in our previous enterprise setting to try to introduce people who are using notebooks for the first time, potentially, who are using Python for the first time, just to kind of get their hands, on some of this data and start playing around with it.
Yeah, it's interesting because my default option when I see those questions will be to use SQL and not Python.
Yep. And so, for example, like I might, do some querying. I might look in, Stack Overflow, and I might find some code that I can piece together. And I try to run it in here, and it may generate an error, right? Because I got the syntax wrong. And so in this case here, let me just rerun this here again real quick. So I'm going to load the extension there, and then load that data. And then rerun this. It looks like we said it's the connection error with OpenAI. There we go.
So what's happening here?
So what's happening here is that I generated an error in that code cell, and so here's the traceback that I would have gotten, just the Python exception that was returned from that cell. But then it's going out to ChatGPT using the GenAI extension and providing some context about what I had previously had here in the notebook, as well as what that error was. And it's trying to say, and again, as a learning opportunity, what's so powerful here is that it's explaining to me a lot more than this, what could be very opaque, error handling code here in Python. It's explaining to me a little bit more about what might have happened, right? And as well as maybe suggesting to me what might be the right code to do it here. So I was just trying to figure out, right, how many, counts here for the species column here. So I can put this down below. I can copy that code in there and I can execute this. And I can get the data back about how many for each species, how many total rows.
And how did it know that it was looking after species? Because in your code, you're like trying to do like plain language, trying to say,
yeah, so like
count species, please.
Yeah, I mean, I had the syntax wrong, and also it saw from the previous result here that there is a species column, right? So it knew it was a column. It knew that I was trying to reference it here as well as the value counts, but I wasn't using the right syntax for calling it as a function, and that I needed to do it specifically on just that column within the data frame, right?
Sounds good.
So it gave me the answer. So that just helps even as I'm trying to write some of my code myself. But what's kind of more interesting here is this assist magic, which again just comes with this Jupyter extension that you can install and run in any different Jupyter platform. And I can actually now ask this kind of natural language question of the data. So I can say how many total pings are in this data, and it's going to go out to ChatGPT.
So that's basically like if I was using the UI in ChatGPT, but just directly within the notebook, right?
Yep, but also it has some of the context of the notebook itself that you have.
Okay, so it's even better than the ChatGPT without plugin. It's similar to if you're using like a kind of Noteable plugin, you give the context instantly of the notebook.
Pings are represented by a row in the data frame BF, right? So I got a little confused about thinking that pings itself was in the data, right?
Ah, interesting.
Because it didn't know necessarily what I was referring to as ping, because there's no column here as ping, there's no information as ping. We just know from the background of the data set that each of these elements there is a ping. So there we go. So we get it just based on the length of the data frame there. So I can do that. Total pings equals length.
So it's just counting the rows?
Yep.
Okay. And it tells you like, look at the unique number of rows. Okay.
And so next question on the right, how many unique species of sharks are in the data set? You can ask that. Function returns the number of unique values in the column. Assume the data frame. So many species name, the name of the shark species, you really get a number.
We should put your voice as a voiceover on a ChatGPT.
I know. But again, like what's really helpful here is that you get this explanation, from ChatGPT, kind of the natural language explanation there, as well as the code to kind of perform that action. So it's really helpful as a learning exercise here to start understanding Python a little bit better, start understanding the code a little bit better by having that.
I mean, yeah, it's fantastic. It's basically the way I learn. I have to do things, and just reading the docs never also helped me memorize things. I can do them once. If you just read the doc and copy paste, it's like you always forget after that.
And you saw, so what's interesting here is that it had.
Yeah. What happened here?
All right, so let's go down here. So it told me, right, to do it by species name, right?
Yeah.
Which is not the name of the column. The name of the column is species. Right? And so when I try to run the code that it gave me back originally, it said, hey, like this looks like it's an error because there's no column name species name within the data frame. So if I go back in here and say how many or the data set df, right, and give it more information about what specific data set I'm asking about. So now
it was trying to come up with a column by
itself. Like I didn't necessarily tell it which data set I wanted that result out of, right? And so now I'm telling it that the data set is called df. Now I can do this, that. There we go. Gives me the answer, right?
Nice.
And so now again, let's try this. We learned before. So what's the name, weight, and species of the heavy shark in the data set df?
I forgot the question mark, but I feel like it's fine.
I feel like it already gets it, right?
I can figure out the Python code, I feel like you can figure out what's the question.
Yep. And so again, like while this is coming in, what has been so helpful is that I can express my analytic question in natural language.
Yeah.
I can get code back. And even when that code has errors in it, the automatic kind of error handling here helps me identify not only like better understand what that error was, other than beyond the kind of stack trace that you'll get there in the exception handling, but you'll also get potentially a suggestion to fix it, right?
Yeah, man, it's fantastic to learn Python. It's like your personal teacher.
Yep. So let's try this here. And print. I'll just return heavier scenario. I will print.
I wish I had that when I was learning Java at school using Eclipse.
Yeah, like in ways that like 4 years ago that I struggled to do this on my own, right? When I was just kind of like looking at Stack Overflow and like Googling, trying to search for answers. To have this context right within the notebook platform that I'm iterating on to experience is just incredible, right?
Awesome.
We'll do one more fun one here. When and where was the very first ping? So I wrote out this thing. So the data frame DF contains information received from sharks that are being tracked, including a field for date time and a lat long field. Can you help me find when and where the first ping was found in this data set?
So when you mean the first, you mean like it's gonna look, do you have any like timestamp in your data set?
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Wow, so you're asking for like time series plus kind of geodata at the same time. That's pretty cool. That would be a tough thing actually in like just Python, so that's like newbies like us.
It's still coming in. It's just coming in slow.
Okay.
All right. So I say, let's take these. Okay, the select first data. There's all the data information first ping data set. To get the data first ping, you can access data in column there. So that one as well. And then get here.
Why did you mess up something?
All right, the code is going to access lat long for data field first ping. The column don't exist in the data frame. To resolve this error, check the column for first ping or printing out the results of first ping columns. Lat long exists. Yeah, so the lat and long were not included in this first, in that one there.
Wait, do you have the lat long in your data set?
I do in that data set, but not in what was, see where it was, we're filtering out the
GenAI messed up.
Yeah.
So what are you doing now? You're trying to like
I'm trying
use
to print
the
out
previous error to solve the error.
To see what's in it, yeah. Because like this should have been assigned. Well, this first ping date. Do we have this? We have that first ping date equals that, so we know the date. So then this line is the line that didn't work. Oh, first ping doesn't have
the first ping data frame.
Yeah, the first ping data frame doesn't have lat in it. Okay.
So yeah, what is for first ping?
What does it have in? Yeah.
I mean, you sort value by date time iloc, I think.
Oh, it's called latitude and longitude. That's why.
Ah.
You should know that. It's my fault. I told it lat long. That was my fault. See?
That's your fault.
The original data is
what is it?
Latitude
and longitude. Okay.
Right. And I told it, I'm sorry, ChatGPT, I lied to you. Where was it? Latitude and long. I'm just copying this. I don't make a typo.
You don't make typos.
I absolutely will do, and then they'll get mad at me again because I got wrong. This was my fault because I had the prompt saying that was the wrong fields. Now
it's even better now. It's like putting everything into one line. Oh, it's funny. Look at what we said at the end. Know that the longitude and latitude are used instead of flat and long.
Nice. And the next thing I can do too,
Nice.
goes on the map.
Wait, so it's gonna plot automatically? What is it using? Folium? Interesting.
Yep.
Why Folium? I mean, yeah, Folium is one of the common ones to plot a map, to put a pointer on a map, a marker. Yeah.
And it knows that first ping lock is already there, right, for the location.
Oh, that's cool.
So it already knows the variable to plot, and it's
You
going
might have to pip
to do it.
install.
I think we have it. I think.
Do you have Folium in the base image?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh yeah. I think you didn't let it finish. Look at that. Display the map.
Oh yeah.
Too eager to
I
get the
missed it.
result.
I missed it. Yep. There we go.
Yeah,
Boom. There
that's
it is.
fantastic. Yeah, Folium is like I have to Google all the time when I want to make a map with Folium. I just always
Yep.
forget how to make a marker.
This has been I think this is incredibly helpful for me
Yeah, I
to
agree.
both quickly recover from errors and mistakes that I make in the code, as well as the ability to kind of express my analytic questions in natural language, um, and get get on the path of how to write the code to answer that question.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave.